Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris, aka Mr. Grow It, and you're tuned into one of my Q&A videos. I film these Q&A videos live on Twitch every single month. Follow me on Twitch if you want to ask questions and potentially be featured in a future episode. Twitch.tv/Mr. Grow It. That'll get you there. Make sure you follow and turn on notifications so that way you'll be notified when I go live next. That being said, let's get into today's Q&A. I'm using a 284 dry amendment for mid to late flower in an organic grow. Is there anything you would suggest adding? Silica. I always recommend people add in silica. Rice hulls is just a fantastic way to get silica in your plant, the organic side of things. Many benefits with silica. So if you're not using silica, I think everybody should be having silica in their grow. If you're not using like mycorrhizal fungi or a microbial inoculant, you can do that. Worm castings are fantastic to use. I think that should be in every organic grow, in my opinion. Yeah, I would go with those ones. Are there any good grow light sales going on right now? Yes, there is. The sponsor of this episode, Mars Hydro, has a sale on the FC and FCE series of grow lights going on right now. Both are bar style, so an even light spread across the footprint. Some have removable bars, so you can adjust them if you'd like, and all of them connect to their smart grow system. The FCE series of grow lights uses bridge lock diodes and comes in at a bit lower of a price point. The FC series of lights uses Samsung 301B, and the PPF comes in a little bit higher than the FCE series. Both are good for home growing. And if you're on the commercial side of things, reach out to info@mars-hydro.com to get the best price possible. More information on that sale is on their website, mars-hydro.com. Link is in the description section below, and you can use discount code Mr. Grow It, and you'll get a bit higher percentage off. What does your feeding process look like, i.e. mixing nutrients in a specific order? I like this question. It really depends on if I'm using synthetic bottled nutrients or if I'm growing organic. I'll break down both of them. Start with the organic. A little bit easier in my opinion. Typically I like to run organic blends. Build a Soil Craft Blend. It's a great organic fertilizer. I've been using it for many years. Also Kiss Organics, their nutrient pack. I'm using it for the first time this run. It's working freaking awesome. I love it. And both of them are very similar feeding technique where you're literally just doing 1 cup per plant every 30 days. So, and I do a top dressing style for that. The past several grows, I've actually been doing a nutrient well. I spoke about that a little bit on my last Q&A, I believe. Also my main channel video, I talked about that. Just dig down a little bit of a hole in there, put the nutrients in that one spot, bury it, and then that's an additional way instead of just doing the spreading out the top dressing all along the grow pot. And then some people will kind of mix it in with that top layer. Other people will put an additional layer of soil on top of that top dressing and then kind of water in. I've done it all those ways before. Just this past couple grows I've been doing that nutrient well. Now the downside about the nutrient well technique is a lot of people complain that you're disturbing the root zone, right? You're kind of digging down into the soil, making space for the amendments. And then there's also the theory downside. People say, oh, well, you're concentrating nutrients in one part of the grow pot. How does that impact the plant? I never had really an issue where I saw any deficiencies happening because the plant wasn't able to get that nutrition. So nutrient well is kind of the way. And then, yeah, organic feeding, just 1 cup per plant every 30 days for those ones in particular. I've done individual amendments before, organic amendments, but I'm not a soil scientist. So, and I don't really recommend people try to go in there and fumble around themselves. Okay, this oyster shell flour, put some of this in. Oh, alfalfa meal, that's good for this. You dump this in. You might be able to get away with doing that without issues, but in the long term, you can definitely have bad consequences on the soil. It can just be kind of an imbalance of nutrition. Nutrients can lock out other nutrients, so on and so forth. So I don't recommend that one. So that's organic. When it comes to the synthetic side of things, I will always follow the feeding chart as far as the ratios, do the different bottles, but I just about always start with a half dose, sometimes even a quarter dose of nutrition to begin. So I'll mix that up and to usually put it into a 5-gallon bucket, however much water I need. Then I'll put the nutrients in. The order I put them in, start with silica, mix that in real well, then CalMag, then the grow fertilizer or bloom fertilizer, whatever stage I'm in. Then after that, I will pH adjust. Then after that, microbes. So I'll mix that up and then give it to my plants. And typically it'll be like every other week typically is what it comes out to. I usually do the water feed technique. So I water the grow pot. Then when the medium dries out, I have a dry back in between waterings or feedings. After the water would be the feed, dries out, water, dries out, feed, so on and so forth. So very long-winded answer on that one, but there's plenty of details for you for how I do my feeding. Is there a difference in the amount of PPFD for autos and photos due to the extra time under the light? I think that's a good question. I think for many, many years, a lot of us kind of neglected that fact that autos continue to stay on a higher light cycle. And it's just been kind of generalized to this much PPFD in seedling, this much PPFD in veg, this much PPFD in flowering, and really kind of neglected the photos versus autos. I will look at DLI is really what it comes down to for that. So yes, if I'm have my plants in the flowering stage for autos, I can still aim for that 600 to 900 ppfd, but I might want to go more towards the 600 ppfd for a lower DLI. Of course, CO2 is going to impact that as well, as far as how much light the plant can intake. But yeah, I would kind of notch it down a little bit, particularly in flowering. You can definitely get away with 600, 700, 800 ppfd, particularly in the flowering stage. But you can still do the 200, 400 ppfd for seedling, 400 to 600 ppfd for veg. I think it's a good question because I think a lot of people do it differently. Let me know how you do it in the comments section below. What's the best type of soil you use? Oh, man, easy question for me. I feel like I talk about the soil just so much. This Foxfire Motion Forest soil. It's just kind of what I've been born and raised using. I started growing back in 2010, and that's the soil that I started with. And my buddy actually, who taught me how to grow, he was using that along with the Fox Farm Trio. So I've just kind of stuck with that. I have it at my local nursery. It's a pretty good price, and that's got enough nutrients to last me, the first 20 to 40 days of the plant's life, depending on what size container we're talking about. That's got to be my favorite. Have you made compost teas? And if so, how often did you apply it to your plants? Yeah, I've done compost teas before. I think I have some content on compost teas, probably not enough content, but I've been using them. I haven't used them in several grows, actually. I used to use them just in flowering, really. And typically it was more so using them when I was growing organic, and maybe I did that top dressing before or right at flower. And then after the first 3-4 weeks or so, maybe I'm hitting them with a tea then. And then every couple weeks after that is usually when I would hit it with the tea, just up until harvest. That's primarily when I use teas. And I feel like if I don't need to use them, why use them? And actually the past probably 3-4 grows now, I haven't had a need to use them. My plants have been healthy throughout the entire bloom phase, from using Build a Soil Craft Blend, and then other ones was Kiss Organics Nutrient Pack that I spoke about a little while ago. I'm using that this grow. Plants look great. I'm mid-flowering, coming up towards the final weeks of flowering for some plants, several different cultivars that I'm growing this round. So I'll be out really compost teas as needed basis for me. Flower, progressive light schedule, or higher in the beginning, tapering off to mimic nature? I like this question. I've always just kind of been slowly increasing the PPFD up until harvest. That's always the way I've been doing it. Actually, I have done grows like years ago, 6+ years ago, where I would lower the wattage. This was with HID, lower it down for the final 1 to 2 weeks in order to do exactly what you had mentioned. I've never done testing to kind of see if there was a difference or not. So these past 6+ years, I've just been doing full blast all the way up until harvest. It'd be cool if somebody did do testing on that though, right? That'd be really cool to see if there was a difference. Growing from seeds or clones currently? Currently, I am growing from seed. So I've got 4 different cultivars going on right now. I've got Runts by Homegrown Co. I've got Curb Stomper. That is by Prism Labs. Let's see, what else do I have? American Pie by Grow More Fire. That one I think has hop latent viroid. I'm actually recording footage about the plant, showing the plant why I think it has hop latent viroid, testing. So I've actually taken samples and sent off for testing, waiting to hear back results on that. But the hop latent viroid, man, it's got me so interested because it's something that I'm sure a lot of us have experienced and not known it. The symptoms on it are like, really? Like some of the symptoms are similar to other deficiencies and so on and so forth. But like one of the ones that I'm experiencing right now is the overlapping leaves. So for example, like 5-finger leaves, if the leaves kind of overlapping and kind of curl in like that, that's a identifier of a viroid, hop latent viroid. I think there's other ones it could be as well. So I wouldn't say that that's definitely that, but from my understanding, that indicates a problem, right? So I actually have that for the first time, I think, ever, because I haven't noticed any plants. Maybe it's not really a trait I've been looking for, but like that overlapping on every single leaf, it's weird to see. So anyways, I sent it off for testing, and we'll see what it comes back and see if it's positive or negative. But yeah, just seeds as of right now, and everything's looking pretty good. Oh, and I'm also growing Hades Throne by Zaza Genetics. So those are the 4 that I got going on right now. I actually had to kill off a Hermie. Yeah, that one ended up flipping on me. Unfortunately, it looked freaking fantastic. Beautiful plant in week 3, or I think it was 3 of flower, 2 or 3 of flower. Flower development looking amazing. And then all of a sudden, ball sacks show up. So no bueno. Had to kill that one off. I'm still really sad about that, to be honest with you. Any recommendations, techniques for older seeds? Yeah, so a technique that I read in Jorge Cervantes' book, so shout out to him, he's OG, his Grower's Bible. If you read that, you'll see that he has like an interesting technique to where he's taken the seeds and have like a piece of sandpaper to kind of rough up the seed a little bit, or the side of like a matchbox or whatever, just a rough area to kind of rough up the side of the seed. And then it claims that it helps with germination rate. So do that at your own risk. I think I actually tried that before and it didn't work for me, but your question reminds me of that. But now just kind of dropping them in water, paper towel method. Those are kind of the best ways, I think, of checking to see whether or not your seeds are good. I think some people have done special solutions that they dip their seeds in or soak the seeds in. I'm not really familiar with some of those remedies that people have. Comment below if you have any little home remedies of getting seeds to germinate, kind of increasing those chances there. Would you ever try carbonated water for a watering? No, probably not, to be honest with you. I've just been using RO water and that works for me, so I don't really feel a need to do it. Me personally, nah, I don't think I'm ever going to try that one, but I think it's interesting for the folks that do things like that. I'd love to hear of your results if you do that. Opinions on a new Vipa Spectra 1500 Pro LED grow light. I like them. I'm running 2 of them right now. I had them in my 2x4 grow tent for veg, real even light spread on them, and then I switched them over to my 4x4. I have them on half of my 4x4. Then I have the new AC Infinity light, the Evo 3, on the other side of my 4x4. And I like running 2 lights for like a 2x4 grow space because you have that flexibility to kind of make the light distance kind of adjust. You know, if some plants growing bigger than others, you can have them on one side of the tent and raise up that light and then keep the other light down. Now, oftentimes I will actually just, if I do have one light that kind of goes across that whole 2x4, I'll just put it diagonal. You know, I know some people are against doing that, but I've always been doing that, and it's been helped making that even light spread. And I have a par meter, so I can get a check and make sure that things are kind of dialed into the PPFD that I want on the plants at the time. But that grow light is great. I don't have any complaints on it at all. Actually, I think one thing that could be improved on that is like the dimmer switch. I don't like the dimmer switches, how they go from 25, 50, 75. It's just those particular set points. You can't adjust it like from 0 to 100 to any percentage. So that's one thing I don't like about some grow lights have that, but it's fine. It's no big deal. It's not small con, I'd say. Back in the day, it was said estrogen would make your plants female, so people were crushing up birth control into the sea. That made me laugh. That's a good one.